Hi, friends of Theben, partners in abroad, followers worldwide. We warmly welcome you to our today's latest news to KNX Actuators. My name is Elmar Löffler, Head of Technical Support and Training, and we want to share some interesting highlights in the next heading, approximately 45 minutes. So be excited, be eager for the news. Yeah, well, we talk about KNX Actuators from Theben. And first of all, we introduce, or just a short insight to the fixed actuators, Fix 1. The Fix 2, which more or less same, in regards of application, in regards of, let's say, the physical power in terms of switching capacities or dimming capacities and manual operations and so on. And we talk about the Mix 2 generation, and then latest you will be really attentive, because we do have here some interesting insights for you, so be excited. And as well, we do have here some interesting added values in regards of the flush mounted actuators, twisted pair or RF. So, well, let's get started. So a few words to the actuators. So you know, Fix 1, Fix 2, Mix 2, flush mounted actuators. So a lot of actuators we do have. But what is the umbrella overall? Almost the same application. So that means you know one application of actuators in our product range. You know more or less all the applications in our product range. I think this is some which is highly interesting and makes it easy for you to manage to handle when you have to customize a project. Second, finally, is let's say the hardware. The hardware by means of anytime you can operate on each of our actuators. Nevertheless, if we talk about Fix 1, Fix 2, Mix 2, and even the flush mounted actuators, you can operate manually, if you like. You discover here on that stage, you discover here 230 volt, so power supply. So if this is applied to the device, but the device isn't integrated in a project or not programmed yet, however, so anytime you can test each switching channel manually if the fan is operating or if the light is on off or whatever. Can do. This is a specific one, this high power actuator, and here you miss the 240 volt terminals, because these specific actuators just is operating based on bus power. But probably you discover this here. This is a specific one with absolutely benchmark in regards of switching power. 4-volt switching, 25 amps each channel. So what does it mean? So you don't need auxiliary relay. You don't need the space in the distribution cabinet. You don't need additional wiring and no additional costs, by the way. So in regards of the application, let's have a look inside. So first of all, this is, let's say, the standard page, so the front page of our application in regards of switching actuators. And you might probably wonder, so this is probably all? No. You discover here on top, we do have here switching on off delay, staircase times, some flashing or whatever. So this is a standard function which you can operate, however. But you will discover definitively, you see here, we do have here exceeding threshold. So that means anytime you can, for instance, apply a sensor, giving you a CO2 value, for instance, giving you a brightness value, giving you a temperature value or whatnot. You set the threshold in the actuator finally, and the relays switching are accordingly. So this is an additional added value, added function finally, which you can get from us. You discover probably here participation in central objects. Yes. So that means we do have just one central object, and you decide finally during the configuration which or how many of the channels of the actuator shall participate on this central communication. So this reduces finally the amount of communication object, of group addresses, however, I think benefitful for everyone. We offer as well, just as an application, you see here, you discover here, a simple, let's say, logic link option, which from time to time you need in some projects. So you don't need any additional, let's say, logic modules or such. So we can operate directly from that. Feedback objects, our meters and so on are standard, not mandatory. Yeah, well, but you discovered here are popping up some specific values. And why this? Because in regards of LED switching, we are benchmark currently. Yeah, so that means we are really, really strong in that. And we spend a lot of technology. We spend a lot of, let's say, high quality semiconductors inside to achieve finally these fantastic values. Yeah. So just be reminded, so if, rough idea, if you do have, for instance, a 60 watt halogen light, to replace it with LED, so which means you need approximately 8 watt LED. Okay, you got me? So and what does it mean? If we talk about 600 watt LED, so you have imagination now, so how many light you get finally if you apply this exactly on just one of these channels. Absolutely powerful, absolutely fantastic in the performance. Yeah, and that's the reason why I collected all the reasonable data together on 2 slides. First of all, this is standard. Yeah, so 600 watts LED switching is standard in our opinion and from our perspective. And 800 amps of INRUSH rating, this is standard. This is an internal norm in our company, and that means finally we care about what we have or what you, for instance, intend to drive in your projects, and we want to have long life in our products, because if the products are okay, assuming the clients come back because they are happy with us. Yeah, why we have to care about that, and due to that I will share some specific details with you. And in this case I just move this a little bit aside. Probably you haven't seen before. So I have destroyed finally a LED, and you find here in the socket some electronics in order to drive finally these arrays of LEDs. And yeah, the reason is finally why we do have here INRUSHes. The electronic, specifically the capacitors, have to charge, have to be charged in order to switch the light or in order to dim these lights in a reasonable good way. And that's the reason why we do have, why these electronics create some INRUSHes. And this has to be respected, and we do have some experience since more than 15 years in regards of that, and we share this experience in our products, and we share it finally with you to make you happy. Yeah, in this list of these fantastic values, you discover here specifically the C-load actuators, and this is absolutely the benchmark in the market itself. So that means 1500 amps of INRUSH rating is absolutely benchmark. You will never find another actuator which is such powerful like this one. And regardless, look at this, 850 watts of LED benchmark. I just can repeat, there is no need to add an auxiliary relay and to waste energy, time and space finally in the distribution panel and the distribution board. So we are really good at that, what we are doing. And nevertheless, if we talk about such kind of LED light, or if we talk about, let's say, a GU10 light, I have destroyed one just to make it more visible for you. There is electronic inside, which has to be managed, which has to be, let's say, charged. And that's the reason why we do have here these high INRUSHes. It's not to scare you, it's just to share some, let's say, experience from our side with you. We take care on you, that you have fun for many, many years with our products. What is the effect finally of this high INRUSH? You can discover here on this relay. You see the shape of this contact totally destroyed. That's the reason why. Yeah, capacitive load, and that's the shape which you get finally. Just to share a value with you, so we do have here a rather nice LED light, which mostly is used in, let's say, offices or schoolrooms or whatever. So 31 watts of LED, fantastic light, by the way. This single light creates approximately 26 amps, just one single piece. The time frame is rather short, but the intensity is immense. So that means we have to care about, and this is inbuilt in our actuators in order, again, to make you happy. Our LED dimmers are such powerful to manage these, let's say, INRUSHes as well. So we have many options, finally, to dim in accordingly really good way. Yeah, so flickering free and stable curve, however. And if the curve is not so ideal, we do have options to optimize the dimming curve of some LED lights. So we are good in that, what we are doing. Yeah, and what I want to share with you, it's hidden behind this light. So here we do have a brand new actuator, which is a 4-volt DALI broadcast dimmer, supporting LED color light, and LED HCL light. So in total, all in all, on one of these 4 channels, you can apply up to 30 LEDs directly. So, but more in a separate introduction. But just as a forecast for you, this we will introduce you in the next digital broadcast. Yeah, in the dimmer itself, so we can adjust, so all the, let's say, the dimming settings which are required, so minimum brightness and the speed and the control gear, however, and the dimming curve to modify or to make more linear, not logarithmic. So this we can adjust with our application, and this application is really future-proofed, and anytime we have options to add some new, let's say, investigations and some experiences in this database as well in the background. Yeah, and again, so like I mentioned, so we do have finally one application for fix 1, for fix 2. So what does it mean? So for that purpose, I just change the camera view. So that means this is fix 1, this is fix 2. The application equivalent. We do have here a single actuator. We do have here the double actuator, so there is no chance to disconnect. However, so this we did finally, especially for project business, when there are demands for a high amount of channels, for instance. And what is the benefit of it? The benefit of it is finally that we could achieve that we get here, let's say, a reasonable better price. In comparison, you buy 2 of the fix 1, the price of the fix 2 is slightly below of 2 pieces of fix 1, just as an example. Yeah, and then let's talk about this mix 2 actuators. Frank speaking, so these actuators are finally, how can I say? These actuators are meanwhile almost 12 years old. And what does it mean? So these 12 years old actuators, they have been really future orientated. So what does it mean? So in this time when we did the R&D, when we did the designing for these actuators, so we had some visions. Again, 12 years before. So, and we implemented in these mix actuators 2 things. The ability to mix the different functions of the actuators together. And you discover here, so a PCU which you can take out. Yeah. And that was a vision from us to be open for the future. And now we can proudly present some new details about that. Be excited, be eager. You will get in a few seconds some very good information, some updates in these terms. In regards of, let's say, the switching capacities and so on, equivalent to fix 1 to fix 2, and a mix actuators, same. So you know one, you know all. Application, same stuff. Application is same. But there is a but, because this one, these mix actuators, the family is by far larger than expected. So that means we do have a basic unit and we do have extension modules or extension units, however you want to name it. And what does it mean? So you discover, so one step back, you discover in these actuators, here is the bus communication. So one step further, you discover, oops, there is the bus communication missing. Why? Because we do have, on the extension side, we do have an interface which I have to dock on the basic unit. And this I will share you in the next camera view. So that means we do have now here the mix actuator, the mix generation. Yeah. And what does it mean with the interface? So I pull it just a little bit apart. So, and now you see in a camera view, we do have here an interface in the extension. We do have here a connecting terminal for this extension. We do have on the extension another connecting, and we do have here another connector which you can link together. So then the basic unit is linked to the extension unit, is linked to another extension unit. I think quite smart, quite clever. If you watch carefully on the naming of these actuators, so probably you will discover, so we do have here RMG, so relay module, 8-volt. We discover here 2-volt dimming, universal dimming. We discover here 5-volt heating actuator or heating controller, however. What we discover furthermore, we discover here the BCU, and the BCU you can take out. Yeah? And this we come later on back on that terms. What is behind here? So let's have a look behind. There is nothing. Here we go. So that means we do have here just an empty box, but we need this finally for a specific function. So because imagine now you have installed such a mix actuator series here in your DB board, and just imagine, for instance, this actuator here, or this doesn't matter, is destroyed by a light strike, by overload or whatever. Finally, it is destroyed, so you have to replace. So what you need in general, you need to pull them apart. You need to give the space that you can take this out. No, we did it in a by far smarter way. So what we can do, by use of a screwdriver, I pull it on the right hand side, this one as well. What we can do now, you see, you do not need any space left and right hand side. This is a certain smartness to make it life easier for you in the unlikely event if you have to replace such a product. Put it back, replaced, you link it again, you link it again, the cover on top, lock it, here is a locker, so you lock it finally and done. In the event, just as an example, that this one here is destroyed, again by short circuit, light strike or whatever, so then you replace this one here, replace it. Where is the intelligence? So that means group address, physical address, and so on, exactly in here, because here there is intelligence, logic, and so on. So that means from the hardware side, you replace this, install the new one, you take just this BCU, press it down, lock it, and you have not to come on site with a laptop, with a program, with an application of the ETS, because this one is filed, is stored here in the controller. Okay? Rather flexible. In regards of the application, you can choose, you can customize finally these actuators, basic unit to extensions, however you need it, however you like it. If you need a reasonable function for your room, so you choose the right actuator as a basic unit and you add the reasonable extension modules with the reasonable functions, put it together, and deal is done. Rather simple and rather fast and easy to manage. So this we understood but, and this you know as well. So now, imagine, you know that a KNX line depends if you have a power supply, 640 milliamps, so you are permitted using or applying 64 KNX devices on this line, right? So imagine now and watch carefully on this drawing here. So that means you see here, here's a bus cable. Just one physical address on this set of mixed actuators. Am I right? But what is the conclusion? One physical address, one of these 64, but you have triple of actuators in your line. You got me? You do not need any additional stuff, additional power supply, whatever, because this whole bench here, these 3 appliances require in total 10 milliamps, and that's it. Okay, you got me? I think this is an added value for you. And the application setting, you have to choose the right application in the right, let's say, naming or the numbering. So for instance, the basic unit is the HMG8T. The first extension is the DME, so which means two-fold universal dimming. And just as an example, the second extension is a binary input as an example. So you choose and you get the reasonable application in the ATS listed with all the communication objects and parameter settings and so on. How easy it is, you see now. Okay, and by the way, if we take this, this is a rather good example. So this one here, this RMG8T, this 8-volt switching. The T is a meaning of you can either use this actuator as a switching actuator, so that means 8-volt switching, or depends on the application setting, you may use this actuator as well as a shutter or blinds actuator. So that means channel 1 and channel 5 are acting together for up and for down, and the 6 channels left finally you can use to drive a light, to drive a ventilation or whatever. Or you can have furthermore, let's say, shutters and blinds channels. It's up to you. So that means shutters and blinds, switching. You have 2 functions here in this actuator. We do have here dimming. We do have here, in this case, 6-volt heating. So all in all, we have 3 actuators here, but 4 functions. Okay, you got me? Another advantage, you can customize almost however you like it. I think really benefitful and powerful. Well, what is the interesting part now? The interesting part is you told me, or I told you, there are some news. Yes, they are. And they are highly interesting news. Because, just imagine, industrial buildings, public buildings, schools, however, imagine that unauthorized people attack your project, the KNX project, or even hotels. Yeah, and so you have functions which are blocked, which you do not have any access. You don't have any access to the entire system, whatever. Or you have functions which are like Ghostbusters, and you have no control at all about this project. I think this is a nightmare, finally, for building owner or the responsible people. And due to that, some years ago, the KNX Association and the technical board start to develop and to define finally the 2 different secure parts, which is IP secure and data secure. And we talk about currently data secure in the news which are introduced now. So you got it immediately, no words. This actuator I was currently talking about, and this one, it looks a little bit different. It looks different because in reality, this PCU looks like that. And assuming that you have now immediately the idea, so what's the secret behind? Exactly, you got it. Yeah. So that means we can immediately update the switching actuator in an existing project, you just take the BCU out, you take the new one, put it in, and you have physically updated your project to Data Secure. Anything to add? Anything to know? Yes, some slightly details you have to know, because finally you need to know that finally you need the new application, because for that purpose, Data Secure, we need to redesign, to update our KNX application database, to manage finally these aspects of Data Secure. By means, if you have an existing project, you can relieve all the actuators in the project. You just take the BCU out, put your new one in, almost done. Then in the ETS, you have to update your project database. So that means you have now to take or load the current update of of the new actuators, and the new actuators require finally the latest version. And the latest version I will show immediately in a few seconds. So they have, let's say, some added, text which is secure, and this has to be respected if you want to drive to operate this actuator in secure mode. In regards of your order numbers, which you are probably acquainted with, so that you definitively will not find any modifications. So we left the naming of the appliances, of the devices, and we left as well the order numbers. The only thing what you will definitively discover when you open the delivery box, when you take your product out, it looks exactly like that, because we decided now with the next delivery starting 1st of March, our actuator will automatically have these new BCU on board to give you the option to operate your actuators as secure or unsecure device in a KNX project. I think good to know, it's not mandatory that you operate these actuators in secure mode, your choice. Okay, so what is the difference? So the visible difference when we, let's say, open the KNX database, the new one. So this one finally is the current one. So if you open the info button, and then you will get finally this information. So this is the current one. So without any possibility finally to upgrade your actuators with Data Secure communication. If you intend, or if your client is asking you, so are you able to, or do you have some products to update my entire project into KNX Secure, then you have to choose if you have the right actuators which are able to support you with Data Secure. And finally, you have to choose the right application. And the new application looks like that. So you see here the Mix 2. And the thing is finally the Mix Secure is important. Yeah. So that means this one puts you in a position, opens widely the door to operate your project now in Data Secure communication. This is important. And the second part is important finally, because you discovered on the rear side of this actuator, for that purpose I open again this camera, and you probably discovered, so there is on the rear side, we do have here the QR code and the FDSK code. And for each of our actuators which we are starting to deliver now, you get an additional card, so a security card which fits to the actuator. So that means this QR and FDSK code is the copy of this one. This one you relieve on the actuator, and you need it finally to operate this device in secure mode. And this one we want to remind or to motivate you, so to put it somewhere in the history. So that means you can type in here the physical address of this actuator, probably here what kind of device it is, for instance, or where it is located, however. And then you can put it somewhere in a folder where your history of the entire project is probably filed or stored, however. This is a, let's say, recommendation from our side. If you, in an unlikely event, you lose it, so this security card. Or for instance, the QR code on the rear side is destroyed. Somebody was unattended and scratched or whatever. You don't have any chance afterwards to bring this, let's say, device back into, let's say, delivery mode when it leaves our company. So the factory settings. No way. No way at all. If you intend to use a product which is talking secure, and probably you get a call from a client, so please, I do want to have another function in this room. So you take a secure device out of the project, replace it with a new one, and you want to use the old secure product in another project probably. So then you have to reset this product into factory mode. So that means how it works. So for that purpose, you have to press down this physical address, hold, disconnect the power of this actuator, relieve the push button pressed, and then apply the power again. And then after approximately 3 to 5 seconds, then relieve the programming button here, and then the device is going back to, let's say, factory settings, okay? But if you don't have this FDSK code, you never can operate this product again in security mode. No way. Okay, you got me? I think just a hint from some experts and sharing with you. Yeah, just to share as well. So optionally, the bus coupler, which you can order, new ones or old ones. However, we do have here 2 different order numbers, and probably you make wonder. So why we do need a bus coupler as an accessory or whatever. So in the last 12 years, frank speaking, we just needed to sell just a handful of bus couplers to be replaced because of a defect of a semiconductor. But why we need this as a spare part, I will share some with you. Probably you know, probably not. And for that purpose, I will share some. So I clean here this space underneath the camera. I put just here a small testing board underneath, which looks like that. And what you discover here, so we do have here 3 devices. Master unit, extension. Okay, we do have here a PCU, which I named it German Lauflicht, which is a marquee light. And now let's see what happened. So in a few seconds, there should the actuator should start acting, working on its own. So you see, it looks like a marquee light. Yeah, it's just an example. So what we can do with it. Okay, you see, it works brilliant. So, and then I do the following. I just take this out and I take another PCU in, which is called threshold. So Schwellwert German is a threshold in German. And just wait a second, and after a few seconds, something happens. So, and I do have now here a sensor, which is a brightness sensor. So the sensor is currently affected by the lights here in the studio. So now I give a reasonable shading on that. You see, threshold switching, and depends on how I tilt this sensor. So the actuator is currently switching according to the brightness. So for such purposes, we need these spare parts. This means finally, you can, if you like, have a seasonal program on one of these PCUs. Unrespectively, if you talk about the old PCU or the new PCU, you can do it however you like it. Okay, the project has to fit to the PCU or to the group addresses, however, and you see how easy it is. You have not to stop anything, you just take it out, replace it, deal is done, the update is activated automatically. Okay? You have known? So, and just to give a reasonable update as well about the RF flush-mounted actuators. Nevertheless, if we talk about, let's say, the twisted pair actuators, which you do have here as an example, or if we talk about the flush actuators, RF-based, all of them are talking secure. Yeah, with remarkable switching capacities, with remarkable applications. We do have, just as an example here, on these sides, here and here, we do have here 2 binary inputs. And these 2 binary inputs, I think, show it here. So that means we do have here a connector. And with this connector, I can, for instance, apply such kind of piece of cable. And in the event of, for instance, you just have applied these appliances here to 230 volt, here to bus, but the program is not downloaded yet. So anytime when you have installed here, for instance, a push button or whatever, so you can directly on and off the actuator for testing mode or so. Or if you like, you can apply as well. So here you will discover a really fancy small temperature probe. And this temperature probe you can apply directly here on the input 2, just on input 2. And then you do have here the smallest heating actuator, heating controller, which you can get currently in the market. RF-based or twisted pair-based. And talking secure. I think remarkable and good to know. But that's all? No. I have another added value, which means finally, and this one is updated, renewed, and we could achieve a by far better, let's say, transmission power and transmission, let's say, area which we can cover. And this is, I think, for you, it facilitates for you your work in projects and so on, because you know definitively that some influences in regards of the wall, the thickness of the wall, the materials of the wall and so on have some impacts on the RF communication, and as more stronger such kind of actuators are, as better is the transmission finally and the reception on the other side. It's by far easier for you because you don't get any gray hair or however, because of, let's say, some weakness in the transmission. Yeah, we do have as well, so not just actuators, we do have as well here RF push buttons itself, based on these 50 millimeters frame. Then we do have here all these, let's say, actuators, switching, dimming, shutters, blinds, heating, and so on. So all of them are talking secure, all of them are updated with better transmission values. I think this makes sense and this facilitates your life. Yeah, what is to be added? Here's some technical stuff. So this is finally, let's say, the impact which you may have or which you can have from the construction side. So wood and glass or whatever is rather simple, I have to say. It becomes difficult when we talk about, let's say, big concrete walls or floors, however, or some plaster materials. They are dotted with specific material to shield RF signals in order to care about our health. But on the other side, if you are working with RF-based appliances or devices, they will have some impact in the reception, in the transmission of these RF control commands or control values. However, important is finally as well, and this I want to share with you either. It depends always, so where, let's say, the actuators or the transmitters or repeaters are positioned. So look at left-hand side, you discover here there are two blue arrows. One arrow is more or less just passing through a wall, so it's just affected by this small wall. The other arrow here is passing diagonally through the wall, and so the distance is by far longer, and the conclusion is finally you will definitively have, let's say, some weakness in terms of reception or transmission of the RF signal. In this case, it is definitively better to do it in such a way. So that means you do have here the actuator passing through the wall. You do have here another actuator like here, yeah, but this one here is set to repeater, and then you go the short way through the wall, and so you don't have any, let's say, big impacts, big losses in regards of, let's say, the transmission and so on. If you put some, yeah, let's say repeaters, or even the, yeah, how can I say, the media coupler, so try to put them in a specific, let's say, area where all the actuators which have to communicate are around, so that it's more or less a central point. And from the positioning, so position the sensor, if possible, somewhere in the ceiling, so that we have a kind of a donut transmission of the RF signal. So deeply recommended. Could have a good effect. To put just, let's say, a actuator or this media coupler somewhere in a corner or so, I don't want to recommend. So now I go rather fast now through these slides, because in this case I want to recommend. We do have here a nice brochure which cares especially about these, let's say, technical options and hinderly things which can affect finally the transmission or the quality of the transmission. So I want to recommend on our website you will find the reasonable document, and this is by far, let's say, more deeper, with more deeper insights dotted as I can do today. So what does it mean? So I want to give this solution a face in that terms. We do have here, for instance, two, let's say, remote areas, which is a switching actuator on the left-hand side, which is a dimming actuator on the right-hand side. And we have, depends on the reception and the impact of the building, we do have, let's say, a certain overlaying, however, but you know, the weakest point is definitively somewhere here. So, and in this case, I recommend to use, for instance, a media coupler in between, and to give this one here, let's say, the character of, or the characteristic as a repeater. So then this repeater here transmits on both sides, so just one of these options in order to get a reasonable good, let's say, qualitative signal transmitted in your building. However, this media coupler is, okay, media coupler from twisted pair to RF. Well, this media coupler is as well dotted with, with a filter table. What does it mean? So if, one step back, if you have the situation that you have done modifications on this appliance or on this appliance on the other side, so what you have to do during the download, you have to download as well the application again from this one in order to update the internal filter table. You got me? Okay, otherwise probably you will have some problems afterwards if the filter table is not updated. And we implemented in our RF appliances a function which is called listen before talk. What does it mean? So each RF appliance is waiting if there is some, let's say, communication among some RF appliances in the reception area. And if this communication is turning to quiet, then this actuator starts transmitting telegrams, transmitting values or whatever, in order to avoid a collision of communication. You know, it's like a gathering of a huge amount of people and all are talking, so then you will not get a reasonable, good single word to be understood. So that means, and this is similar to, let's say, RF-based actuator, listen before talk. When it is quiet, then the actuator talks, and then the other appliance which has to listen, for instance, to waiting for a telegram, whatever, can really get this control command or this telegram in a reasonable good quality. So this is something to avoid any collision. And what if you do have here, how can I say, so two different lines, RF-based, and they are next to each other, so we have a certain overlapping in the reception. So each line and the appliances in this line get their own domain name or domain address. And this domain address just affects or just includes finally the RF-based devices in this line. So there is no collision finally among 2 or 3 different, let's say lines. Okay? So that's, I think, remarkable, good to know finally. And last but not least, just again be reminded, so this is something which is new. And don't forget, do the good, let's say, storage of that. And what we need to know as well, what we can do with it. You remember these specific options in this RF application or in this twisted pair application, 2 binary inputs. One could be a push button, one could be a sensor, and function before testing or function before programming. Anytime you can, finally. And then, last but not least, so just as a summary, as an umbrella overall, so I want to share again, so these applications, so that means we do have here twisted pair application, we do have here RF application, actuators, supporting secure. We do have here the mix actuators supporting secure. We do have the extensions supporting secure. We do have the optical sensor, the TPIXA, supporting secure. We do have brand new motion and presence sensor for flush mounting in KNX secure. And we do have eye candies of sensors, of push button sensors, talking secure. So what is the summary all in all? If you are looking, if you are searching, if you have requirements of secure products, Theben is your partner. We do have a huge product range of products supporting secure. And by the way, the newest Dolly Gateway will support secure as well. So always worth to visit our webpage. And last but not least, we do have regularly webinars, so always worth to join, to open our webpage. Specifically here on services, you'll find training courses and recordings, don't forget. And if you have missed one of these recordings, so on this page you will find the recordings as well. And looking forward to see you soon on one of the next presentations. Hopefully it was worth for you to join us. See you.